Today I've got a really special gun to show you and give you a little bit of history about the gun and how it influenced the history of my AK journey, this channel, all the social media I've ever done around the AK, kind of everything. This gun, in a way, had a lot to do with that. But this AK in particular is very important to AK culture in this country. It has very significant importance to the importation history of AKs. This, obviously, for the astute viewer, is a Chinese AK. More importantly, this is a CLAYCO AKS, the first Chinese AK to ever come in this country, the second AK ever to come in the country within a year following the Egyptian Mahdi's, which were the first legally imported AKs into the United States. Anything that was here before that is probably a Vietnam bringback, but these are the very first legally imported semi-automatic Chinese AKs, and honestly opened the floodgates, which would lead to over 1 million Chinese AKs being imported between 1983 and 1994 by various importers from the conglomerate in China called CLAYCO. There are so many Chinese AKs in this country, you could probably throw a rock and hit one even today. No matter where you look, you'll always see one. They're extremely important, they're everywhere, and they're really nice, really cool guns. So, the CLAYCO AKS, why is it so special? Well, before I tell you that, I should probably tell you the best way to support the channel. We don't do Patreon, we don't read ads, not gonna do that. You don't wanna hear that, I don't wanna get paid to do that. So the best way to support us is through Third Pin Threads, our merch brand. Got one of the brand new shirts here. We do sell all of the Kyber Customs t-shirts on the website, and we got a lot of other cool designs, all hand-drawn by our good buddy, Tattoos by Paul out of Austin, Texas. He goes by Milsurp Rifles on Instagram. You should check him out. Paul does all these designs by hand. Really excited to have all these shirts on the website. That's the best way to support us. You get something for your cash. And yeah, no paid ad reads, no Patreon. Let's get back to the video. So the first AKs to ever come in the country were some Egyptian Mahdi's back in 1982. Before that, there were no AKs. The only ones, as I said earlier, would have been some sort of a military bring back, most likely from Vietnam. A bunch of SKSs and AKs were brought back. But legally, the Mahdi's were the first ones to be imported in large numbers. Right after that, within a year, at the ascent of 1983, a little importer called CLAYCO out of Kansas started working with CLAYCO to get some of these over, and a bunch of fixed stock and underfolder AKS CLAYCO, basically Type 56 variants, started to come in. A lot of fixed stocks came in first, and then eventually these underfolders would come in, and you can really spot a CLAYCO from a mile away by the furniture, if they still are rocking their original furniture. They have this beautiful, what is known as black bakelite, but under some light, a lot of this black bakelite has a deep, dark green tone to it, which is really freaking cool. That's exactly what you're seeing here, and you can see under the right light, it looks just like Russian orange bakelite. It's got the same waves and flecks, only it's a super dark black green color, which you don't see on any other AK other than these early CLAYCO imports. Eventually, they would move on to different colors and even wood, but the really old ones have the black furniture. Other than the extremely unique furniture, these are very well-made early Chinese imports. This one has seen better days, so you could probably see in some of the close-ups that someone has really loved this over the years. There's even paint on the iron sights. They've actually got a little bit of red goop on the rear notch, and they have just completely whited out the front sight post. I did shoot this thing, and it is fairly zeroed, so someone's been shooting this over the years. And to think that this gun's been in this country since 1983, there's no idea how many rounds are through it, because even back then, Chinese AKs were cheap, and they were everywhere. As Misha Ko put it, these were like the Wassers of the 80s and early 90s. People bought these and shot the freaking piss out of them. Back then, they weren't collectible. They weren't really rare guns like they are now. Back then, people really used to beat on these things. And you can see that this thing definitely has probably had a little rust over the years. It's missing some of its original blue finish, but what bluing is there is really nice. A lot of these early Chi-Com AKs were blued. One thing about this in particular is the bolt and carrier are in the white. Now, from all the research I've done, all of the underfolders would have had blued bolts and carriers, so I'm thinking someone probably polished it. It is serial number matching to the trunnion and the rest of the gun, so I know it's original to the gun, but it would have been blued because it's an underfolder. Michiko has confirmed that, and there are other channels that have confirmed that as well. So I'm sure someone probably polished it to look like the fixed stock variants, but it's okay. Looks like they did a decent enough job, and it fits the aesthetic. This one does not have the original dust cover. It would have had a smooth dust cover originally. This one actually has a ribbed dust cover with a completely different serial number, not even close. It is a blued top cover, so I'm not too sure what it came off of. It's ribbed. I'm not the biggest Chinese AK buff, but to my knowledge, all the Chinese AKs that came in would have had smooth dust cover, so it's probably off of something else. I just don't know off the top of my head, but it is the only non-numbers matching part on this particular gun. If you do want to learn a lot about these CLAYCO imports, Michiko has a video that's pretty old. It's like 7 years old, but it's got a lot of great information. He goes in great detail about the history of the old importer called CLAYCO that used to bring these in. They didn't just bring in AKs, they brought in SKSs, among other things. So we really owe a lot to those Modis and these early CLAYCOs from the early 80s. They are the first AKs that come in the country, and they are the reason why everything ended up coming in later. They were brought in, were at a time they didn't really know if the ATF was gonna be cool with a lot of these things, and the reason why I say this dust cover doesn't match those old CLAYCO dust covers, the original ones, the original imports, would have had like what we see now on like modern Zastavas. The dust cover would have had, you know, some sort of legal jargon saying, do not illegally modify this into a fully automatic gun, or you will be in violation of ATF standards and practices, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Eventually stopped doing that. But at the time, everyone was so gun shy about bringing stuff like this in the country. Everyone was so worried about people modifying them and doing something illegal that they were really kind of taking a risk. But once they did, and it was okay, and it was all approved, a lot of stuff started coming in. So importers like this really paved the way for a lot of cool stuff to come in later. So importers like CLAYCO are very important, and I'm happy to have chosen a name for this channel to pay homage to what they did for AK culture. Without those early imports, without those early Mahdi Egyptian imports, you wouldn't have AK culture today. You wouldn't have things like Kalash Bash, probably wouldn't have channels like me or Robski or even Michiko without such a huge AK culture and all these different imports we've had over the past 30, 40 years at this point. It all started here, so that's why this thing is so damn special, and that's why I chose to name my channel after it. It's pretty cool. There's one really cool thing about pre-banned guns and old AKs like this, which is why I'm just so into them compared to buying something new. It's the history. It's just not the history about the country that made it. Something like this that's been in this country for like 40 years, it's kind of cool knowing that possibly 10, 20 people could have owned this thing in that time. There's no telling how many rounds are through this thing. That's all lost to time. It's definitely been well loved. I mean, the sights are painted, the bolt's been polished, the dust cover's definitely been replaced. It's lived a life. It's been here longer than I have. It would be really cool to be a fly on the wall and just kind of travel around with this thing to see where it's been. I get the same feeling with my K101 that I bought out of New Mexico. A guy literally just called me and found it on a table at a gun show, and I bought it and they did an FFL transfer. It's just cool knowing that that gun's already been in several different states before I ever got it. I know that this gun came off of Gun Broker, so I don't remember the state that it came out of. This is Tony's gun, by the way, my business partner. He was gracious enough to let us play with it. But there's no telling where it came from. It's just cool thinking about that sometimes. I know you guys probably do that too if you've got old pre-banned guns or old milsurp guns. This clearly was never used in any conflict, but even a pre-ban that's not surplus, that was not used in a conflict, it's just kind of cool thinking about where it's been, who's owned it, what have they done with it, who zeroed it last, you know, if you get a gun that's zeroed. I just kind of geek out about that kind of stuff. So you just don't get that with a lot of other things in the gun world. Pre-bans really do have a lot of charm to them. What do you guys think about this kind of thing? Was this interesting to you at all? If so, I can start doing more vignettes like this, but moreover, I just thought it would be cool to give you guys a little history on this channel and why I named it CLAYCO 47. Yeah, it's my first name, but I thought it would be cool with the inside of my old buddy to pay homage to something that really helped pave the way for AK culture in this country. Without guns like this and the Modis that came slightly before it, and without importers like CLAYCO, Sile, all those old importers that brought in a pantload of Chinese AKs, they really paved the way for other importers to know that bringing stuff like this would be okay It would last for a long, long time, and the country was flooded with cool Cold War AKs for a long, long time. Without guns like this, you wouldn't have even 3/4 of what you have in the country now. So this is a special gun. Very cool gun right here. Anyway, I want to thank channels like Michiko for really being one of the only sources online that are easy to find, that are easy to digest and learn about this type of importation knowledge, because it is very important. If you're into this kind of thing, you have to know importers have a lot to do with the guns that we have, the pre-bans, all that stuff. A lot of importers put in a lot of hours, a lot of hard work to bring this stuff into the country. So let's all give a slow golf clap to CLAYCO, and an even bigger golf clap to freaking Michiko for showing us all the way to learn about this stuff and to really appreciate it for what it is, because it is really cool stuff. And you wouldn't have my channel without it. You wouldn't have a lot of stuff in this country without it. So yeah, that's all I have for you. Love you, bye. Okay, ready?